Hey, this is Audio Discourse. Your dude Odd Rocker speaking. Haha. Just wanted to elaborate on a discussion that I saw. Sorry, my mustache is attacking my face. Between Angel Ramirez Jordan and Cynthia G. I thought it was a good discussion, to be honest. Some interesting points were brought up in that. I meant to do this video days ago, but my phone's been on the fritz, so I haven't really been able to record videos. And I have to use my freaking tablet at times, which, that's another story within itself. But just to get back to the subject, some points that came to mind during that interview, I thought it was interesting, what she said about Cardi B, because everyone's all talking about how Cardi B's not black. I guess by today's standards, and some might be redefining blackness in a lot of ways. I'm old school. I would consider her black no matter what. Shoot, we have black people that look like her. I know black people that look like her, and yeah, I understand the whole colorist thing that's been put out, and just how certain people are there to to be recognized as black, when the darker skinned black people don't get the exposure, and which Cynthia was saying basically is people are going to look at her as black more than they would anything else, just because of the system that we're set up in, this white supremacist system. And, we could talk about her mom and dad and all that, but the thing is, she's a Caribbean, of course she's a mix. A lot of black Americans are a mix, and I'm not taking that away from, people that look like me. I'm a typical black looking person, a dark brown skinned dude, but I don't discount, just because a person might have a bunch of different ethnicities. I'm thinking of it in the sense of not only historically people like her, some people would say that she could pass for white, but I don't think she would have gotten away with that back then. And she said that she's black on numerous occasions, although she's said some weird stuff, like her and Offset being in an interracial relationship. I'm like, okay, Cardi, you're saying that you're black, but then you're saying this. Or when she's talking about she didn't want her kid to have effed up hair. Unfortunately, a lot of black women and men say stuff like that, so as much as I hated that, especially her being Latin, that's going to not translate so well with us, black Americans, but a lot of black people will use that when it comes to, phenotypical black hair, even when I was coming up, that whole good hair thing. My hair is really wavy or whatever. I don't really know the numbers because the ladies know that more than I do. But, people saying I have good hair because of that. And then you have, I don't know, it's just a bunch of politics, man. When I grew my fro out, it was, my hair is wavy, but it's black hair, it froze out, people act like black people's hair is one way. It's different kinds of ways, man, and everyone should be proud of what their hair. Good hair is healthy hair. It doesn't matter whether it's coarse or straight or not. I'm glad that I have the hair that I do, but I heard both sides, people would be like, cut that nappy hair, this and that, when I grew my fro out back in the day. Or, you had on the other side, oh, your hair is good hair, because it's kind of like wavy or just not straight like white people's hair, but it's kind of hard for me to explain. But we have this thing when it comes to stuff like that. I know I'm veering off the subject, but I'm going to come back. and it's something that needs to be dealt with. I'm going to talk about this with another thing that Cynthia G brought up too. But coming back to Cardi B, I like what she said because it's the same way that I think of her. Society is not going to just think of her right away as just other. She's going to be seen as a black person. And unfortunately, like, you have negative black stereotypes, and of course they always attach them to us. But even with that makes it even worse. She's going to be seen as that because of this white supremacist system. You know, they don't look at her as one of them, although they'll use her and people that look like her to try to represent blacks. And I understand that the backlash of, you know, a lot of us, some of us, saying that she's not black, and just kind of owning that, you know, she doesn't represent us in a lot of ways. For me, I would say that she is black, but I'm old school because I grew up with so many different kinds of black people as well. And even within my family, they all look different, you know. But man, I'm sorry. I just woke up and I don't want this to be long, and I think it's going to be. You know, the world will not, I mean, in this society, she's not going to be seen as anything else but black. I like what Lenny Kravitz's mom said, you know, Roxy Roker. I've said this before, too. She told Lenny that you're not going to be looked at as Jewish. You're going to be looked at as a black person. And when people mix, yeah, we can say that they're biracial, but, you know, within those cultures, like if you have a black Asian or a black, you know, white person, mixed with a European person, whether they're Latin or Anglo, they're not going to be looked at as white, and the other person's not going to be looked at as Asian. They're going to, yeah, you can call them mixed, biracial, whatever, but they're going to be looked at as blacks. You know, throughout history we see that. So I understood what she was saying. By this system, she's going to be considered a black woman. I have no problem with that, and I'm going to do a separate video on that because I want to talk about that, and I've talked about it in previous videos. Another thing that she brought up, even segueing from that to this, segueing from what what I've been talking about to basically colorism. I think what she was trying to say, although, how could I say this? I wish that I did this video days ago because I don't want to add to all this stuff that's going on between her and Chrissy, who I love Chrissy. I dig her a lot, you know. I admire them both for kind of speaking out against the injustices of America, you know, and just even within our communities, when it comes to speaking out within our communities when it comes to things that we need to take care of, which is why this, you know, subject matter of colorism is very important. I think we should fight both. You know, when I know white supremacy definitely is the root of colorism, but when we see weeds, we see the outgrowth of weeds. So in order to take on the roots of those weeds, we have to actually get the weeds and the root out first. You know, that's the only way that we could deal with whatever we deal with. So we deal with both, you know, simultaneously. And I would say this: Chrissy and people like her and Rashida Strober, who actually went further and called it darkism, which I think even focuses it more on specifics of the effects of who gets colorism the most, dark-skinned people. I think that they're very valid when it comes to what they're saying and not being divisive at all. There's nothing divisive about the oppressed speaking against the things that oppress them. You got to keep in mind, colorism and darkism basically, it's kind of like, I hate to say it, yes, the roots are white supremacists, but it's almost like we've taken it into our own communities and created this caste system. That whole brown paper bag bull crap thing. You know, the whole good hair, you know, good nose, you know, fair skin. I don't understand that concept. We've taken that and used it in as our own caste system in our own black communities. And it's had a negative effect on darker skinned people. So we do need to address that. I think Sin originally was saying that if you address white supremacy, you know, you'll take care of all that. But in a sense, addressing our own versions of that white supremacy, which creates that caste system within our communities. You know, who's the whitest of us? You know, like I obviously don't fit in that. And I don't care about that. But, you know, that exists in our community. You know, and we got to take, you know, responsible for that. Especially the lighter, if we're lighter than the darkest person, we stand outside of getting the most heat for that. So that should be considered. And dark-skinned women especially need to be heard. You know, they need to be heard out. Heard like with a listening ear, because they get it the most. You know. Yeah, you can talk about dark-skinned men, you know, or boys getting made fun of, but I think the women go through it a whole lot more than many of us. Many of us, you know. Another thing that she brought up was something that, you know, I know that not everybody has the same religious beliefs, and I don't, you know, I mean, shoot, I'm proud to know so many different kinds of people with different views, you know. I don't want to use the term proud. Maybe proud is not the best term. Glad, you know, just to talk to so many people and not be in my own echo chamber when it comes to even just, you know, the communication I have with so many different people. But I have to disagree with her when she's speaking about specifically Christians. I understand, you know, I can't speak for Muslims, even though I would say the same thing, you know, for them too. It's not fair to just generalize all religious people as just sitting idly by and waiting, you know, for something to happen. That's not true. And it's definitely not true with our history, our black history in America when it comes to black Christians. Yes, you did have some of those that may seem docile, but there are a lot of Christian writers. I mean, they wrote for us, man. I mean, a lot of the earliest ones, even as far as back as being in Africa too. I've mentioned Kimpavita on previous videos. She's known as the mother of our revolution. It's not like she sat on her hands and waited, you know, for Jesus to come back. No, she did what the Bible, you know, would even say to do. You know, like Isaiah. I mean, there's a bunch of verses in there. You know, Isaiah 58 talks about freeing the bonds of people that are oppressed, you know. But even, you know, not even talking about the Bible per se, but just the actions of many black Christians, whether they be in Africa, the Caribbean, or the general Americas. You know, a lot of the earlier slave revolts were orchestrated by black Christians. A lot of the civil rights movements and marches and resistances were orchestrated by like a lot of black Christians. So I have to disagree with her saying that, you know, black Christians sat there and waited for Jesus. No, a lot of us, you know, pretty much thought it was our mandate to not only get free, but to free others. I just thought it was unfair for her to say that. You know, there's a lot of cats today that are not really trying to count that many of us that resisted back in the day had that faith, had the faith of you know, Christianity, you know. And not all Christians were converted through slavery. Yeah, I said that. You know, there's a lot of Christians that actually accepted sorry, I'm all talk time, accepted Christianity even before that, way before that. I mean, most notably in the West Africa, in like Congo. That's where Kempavita was from, actually. But of course, you know, I know about like the Ethiopian church. I'm actually Tawahedo, so that's my faith. You know, I mean, and there's still things that are being uncovered about our history. You know, I mean, I've been studying myself. You know, not to get off the subject too much of that, of even certain symbols that come from the ancient African Christian faith that even certain Fulani groups even have. You know, like a lot of Wadobe will wear crosses. Yes, a lot of Wadobe are Muslims now, but keep in mind, Islam, you know, spread, was the last thing that spread, and it spread immensely over Africa. As far as like just, you know, after Christianity. So there's still things I think that are being uncovered now that people didn't know about before. But we're still looking into that, you know. I mean, shoot, should talk to Salim Faraji about that. I think I did. Anyway, so yeah, I thought it was a great interview that she did with Angel. You know, just to dispel a lot of things that people might think about her. But those are the things that came to mind that I kind of had issue with. You know, I think, you know, if we all listen to each other's piece, hopefully everything will be cool. You know, I'm not blasting her. That's not why I came on here at all. You know, I just thought I would give my views. I wanted to do this days ago, but as I said before, my phone's been on the fritz, and I have just, you know, another means of where I do this. Anyways, yeah, shoot. Oh, as a side note, I'm not going to deny that, unfortunately, you know, I'm not saying that there were no black Christians that didn't fall into the docile thing, or just using religion as a coping mechanism, because you know, that happened. But there are a lot of rioters. I have to emphasize that. I think I'm probably the only YouTuber on here to probably emphasize that. I don't know if A.G. Pollard or Bro Berean or any of those guys talk about that, or Jude 3. But that's the thing. You know, I'm going to give it up for our ancestors that, you know, they were the leaders in these slave rebellions. You know, yes, even some of the Haitian slave rebellion, there were Christians involved in that. But that was even all that, the Stoner Revolt, the Haitian Revolution, that was totally inspired by even Kempavita. You know, these, you know, they you know, the Antonians. I mean, like, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna just leave you guys now. Sorry if my I'm not as articulate. I get nervous sometimes because I don't want to say anything off or weird or base, you know, just to make sure everything is cool. And I try to keep it civil. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Please let's not be on some blasting crap either, because I'm sick of all these cats trying to come to my comments and blast me. Shoot, I've gotten enough from other freaking trolls that I won't mention. But anyways, peace to you guys. Besame abwa wel min fes kadus ahadu amlak amin.